Hello everyone, welcome to the session second of the course in Python. So in the previous class we have already discussed about what a programming language is, and for this particular session we'll be focusing mainly on what Python is. Sort of many programming language which are already available out in the market. What is Python? Why Python? How is Python more relevant to everyone? To answer such questions, we'll be shortly understanding few details with respect to Python. So we'll be quickly walking over history, overview, features of Python, and what application could be developed, what job roles does the Python hold for you, and the industrial applications. So out in the industry, what all are the applications that are built using Python, we'll see. So as you can see on my screen, this is what we're going to cover shortly. So let's get started. Let's first try to understand how Python came into being. So initially, when the computer era was started, more computational power was being invented. People like Guido and Rosum, who were working in the research laboratory in the Netherlands for science and mathematics, he conceptualized and conceived the idea of having a higher language like Python. So the person who's on the screen, which you can see, he is the inventor and the founder of Python originally. He was the one who started this project in 1989 and released the first version in 1991 for the general public use. And he has largely contributed a lot for the initial releases of the Python. So throughout the 1990s, he has been working on Python as a language. So when we understand Python, what is Python? So basically, just like any human linguistic language we have to interact with the humans, to interact with the machine, Python is uh, a language in a similar context. And when we refer to that Python was developed and released in 1991, it just means that all the grammar, the syntax, the rules and regulations that governs the language, that is what was defined and coded. So initially he had developed the Python, but eventually as the Python garnered a large support as it started becoming popular, a lot of people started coming in and started joining the team. And today, uh, it is being handled by the core Python members. So, as you can see on my screen, what you see here are the different version releases of Python. So, just like you have seen that uh, in your mobile phone, the application keeps on prompting you to download the new version of the app and install the new version of the app. In a similar way, Python as a software package or the Python as a literature was being rolled out uh, one after the other in a form of versions. So the initial version starting in 1991 till date, and as of today, Python is running into 3.11 version. And if you try to understand uh, the versions of Python, basically the Python could be understood that there was a Python 2 and now there is a Python 3, and there's a large difference between them. So because today we have a lot of technological advancements and a lot of features have been added to the Python 3 language, the rules, the syntaxes, a lot of differs. However, whatever we write in Python 3, we may not be able to run it in Python 2. But if there is certain code that is coming from Python 2, and if we write something in Python version 2, with slight modifications, it is still possible that we can run that Python 2 code in Python 3. But officially, Officially, the support has been ended for Python 2 in 2008 itself. And since 2008, we have been working on Python 3. So any new project that is built, any new organization that takes up the Python project, any coding we do, it is always Python 3, right? Let's ask ourselves a basic question: is Python a future? Well, to answer that, I think we should be walking through certain statistics. What you see here is a statistic that is being derived from one of the major job platform, and what you see here, it has been revealed that Python has been in the top segment, top three most popular language from the last couple of years. But why so? Yeah, and you can see that it has even surpassed C and Java. Now C is such a popular language that it has been 40 years since 40-50 years since 1970s. All the embedded system, right from all your aeroplane, your car, your laptops, a lot of embedded system are running on C. It is such a widely accepted industrial language, but yet, and even the Java and C++, but yet Python has been prevailing at the top. For the factor that has been considered on which language is popular is one, the number of jobs coming up in the market, and the most number of jobs has Python as a requirement. So with that keywords, such a study has been prepared. And apart from that, major site platforms like Stack Overflow, etc., had the queries and the questions being asked majorly on Python, and that's how with such data, such study has uh, been prepared, and you can see that Python has been prevailing and been at the top. But how do you still consider that it's a future? Well, on this screen, what you see here, it has been mentioned that applications of Python. So if you learn Python as a programming language, well, there are too many programming languages to be learned, isn't it? There is a C, C++, Java, JavaScript, PHP. But then why Python? Well, Python is such a universal language that can do a lot of things. As you can see here on the screen, there's something called as web internet development. There's something called as GUI applications. Well, to give you an examples of what a GUI application is, let me show you one of my project that has been developed. So as you can see here, this is perhaps a project, and if I open up you the code, you can see that this whole code is written in a Python language, isn't it? Now, if I try to run this particular code, you shall see that that code, which was written in an English-like language, is being now rendered as a desktop application. So what you see here is a desktop-based application that has been created, and it's all been created using Python, no other language, purely Python. And you can see here, I have created a login page using Python. I log it into it. I get another screen here, right? This is a desktop-based application, and at the back end, if I try to run this particular application, you can see that a video is being processed, and AI and ML model is being run. So this particular application has been purely developed using Python and no other technology. And this is why the Python is said to be one of the versatile language, because not just the GUI, but a lot of application can be developed. Now there is something called a scientific and numeric computations that you can do. Well, to show you certain things from the scientific and numeric computations, then you can see that on my screen. Let me open up data for you. So in this Excel sheet, I have a huge data, uh, huge enough that it doesn't make sense. So much of data, and if I try to zoom out, you will see that this data is way too huge, too huge, and it is running into lakhs of lines of almost 7 to 8 lakhs of lines of code. But how do I interpret this data, and how do I make sense out of this data? Well, Let me show you what has been done with respect to this whole data. So you can see that I have written the code here, and this code is analyzing the data, and the results that you see on the screen is nothing but the data analytics. The scientific and the numeric computations has been performed the data, and everything has been done using Python code. You can see here, right? Yep. So this is another examples where you can see that one of the predominant use of Python as a language. Apart from that, of course, you can develop a software. You can utilize the Python as a language for your education, business applications, database access, networking, 3D games, and graphics. There are a lot of scopes and applications for the Python. Moving forward, Python is just a programming language. So, to give you a context, just because I know English doesn't mean that I can talk to you about the Falcon 9 rocket launch by the SpaceX. Well, that's now industry specific applications, and I really need to have a knowledge about the aerospace and the rocketry and everything to talk such a technical stuff, isn't it? Knowing just English doesn't help. In a similar way, knowing just Python doesn't help. However, with Python, if we specialize in certain frameworks or we call it as libraries, modules, then you can pursue your career as well as the project and application in certain domain specific. For example, using Python, I can develop websites, mobile apps, and everything. And Django is such a framework that supports you. I can develop the game. Pygame is the one. I can deal with big data. I can do the web testing using Selenium. I can get involved into artificial intelligence, the data science using the libraries like Keras, TensorFlow. I can do the image processing using the libraries like OpenCV, etc. There's Python is such a versatile language that it is serving almost each and every industry, you name it. Whether it's a aerospace, whether it's a automotive, whether it's a finance, whether it's a healthcare, almost every industry is serving with its applications. And if it doesn't make sense to you what a framework is or what such modules and libraries are, no worries. As we move forward through the course, uh, everything will be understood and it will start making sense, and you shall start connecting your dots to know what these are. Well, I'm pretty sure on the screen what you see, these are quite notable and predominant icons in the industry. Everyone would recognize. Uh, you will have already recognized few of them. Like the first one is the Instagram, second one is the Spotify, the Netflix, the Uber, and Pinterest, Reddit, etc. However, if you're wondering why am I showing you these icons, well, that is the reason because all these companies and these applications are using Python significantly at their backend. And if you realize that, what kind of applications these brands are serving. For example, Instagram is completely a social media platform. The Spotify is the music sharing platform. Netflix is the streaming platform, and Uber is connecting all the riders and the ride takers. Well, they are serving different domains, and yet Python is able to uh, service them. And this is the reason that because of such a versatile nature and the capabilities of Python to handle the data at such a large scale and provide platforms and technologies to build such product, and hence such a language is being the language like Python is being widely adopted in the industry, right? Okay, so moving forward, since this course is all about Python, we are going to learn the Python as a programming language. If I were to talk to you, what are the features does this language have? Why this particular language? Well, the first reason it's very easy to code. So if I were to show you how easy it is, you can see that if I just write print Arun Kumar, and if I run this, you can see the output here, right? That's how easy it is. And if the same instruction, if I have to give in other language like Java or C or C++, it would have taken almost 5 to 7 lines just to print certain text. However, in Python, it's just one line. Now, because of such easiness, Python is well preferred. Second is it's open source. Now, being an open source means it is not paid. You don't have to pay a penny to have the files or installations or access the resources. It is freely available to everyone. You can modify it, you can utilize it, all for free of cost. You can contribute to it, right? Second is it's object-oriented language. Sorry, the third one is the object-oriented language. Well, at this stage, I wouldn't talk much about it, but uh, the only reason why C++ was better than C was one of these factor, object-oriented language. However, Python is uh, both a sequential language like C as well as the object-oriented language. It supports both. It has a huge GUI support. So a while back when I had shown you desktop-based application, for example, let me show you another desktop-based application here. What does it mean to be? So, yep, I got it. So let me run another one for you just to show you how if you learn this particular language and if you're developing any script, you can not just write any automation script, but you can also connect it with such a nice looking graphical user interface. So let me show you how it all works. I have put a basic detail here and I'm just providing some input file here. Now let me try to plot certain graphs here. So you can see that the graph is getting plotted. All these are the data analytics that has been performed. And all such graphs that are being rendered on the screen are being plotted by the Python, as you can see here. So this is why we say that Python has a huge and really good GUI support. It's a high-level language. Well, you can say that it's more like English, very intuitive, very easy to learn. Yeah. Python is also a portable language. Now, what do you mean by portable? It's because if you write Python in Windows, then it is not a Windows specific only. Rather, it can also be run on a Mac OS. It can also be run on Linux. So you don't have to worry that you're writing any application or any software on one particular operating system. Well, that can be deployed on any. Yeah. And another point is it's an integrated language. Now, what does that mean is Python really has one good thing that if you have written a part of your code in other language like C or C++ or Java, you can still bring that piece of code in Python and using the wrappers, you can still run it. You can develop an application wherein the front end is developed in one language and the back end is developed in another language. Python can bring it all together, and that is why Python is also called as a glue language, right? Okay. Python is an interpreted language. Well, at this stage, uh, if I were to explain you that, then I would say that whatever line of code we write, whether it's a one line or 2 lines or 10 lines, these lines of codes are nothing but the instructions to the machine to perform a job. Just like I can tell you to perform one job or 10 jobs, same way we are trying to tell some machine to do certain job. And when our Python course is run in the Python environment within our laptop or wherever that environment is hosted, each line of code is interpreted and run, and then Python moves on to the second line. And that's how one line after the another line after the another line by line, it keeps on interpreting, keeps on converting into a byte code, keeps on converting to machine code, and keep running. Okay. Uh, Going forward, let's try to understand the another good point about the large standard library. So in Python, you don't have to reinvent the wheel if you're trying to develop certain application, whether it's a web-based application or a mobile application or a desktop-based applications or any data analytics, artificial intelligence project or a NLP. Anything you do, there are huge individual libraries which are already developed by the communities and the freelancers and the organizations world across and have been made freely available to you for your use, and you just have to focus writing on your logics. A lot of things are readily available for the use, right? So I'm pretty sure you would have heard about the Selenium or the Keras or Pandas, NumPy, scikit-learn, etc., Matplotlib. Lot many libraries are there for your immediate and use. Uh, well, dynamically typed language, I'll understand you as we go forward. And before we conclude for the session, let's also try to understand as an overview, since we are going to learn the language, what are the good things about this language? Let me try to zoom in a little bit. Yep. So very first thing is highly readable. So Python, if I write any instruction here out here, whether it's print Arun Kumar or whether it's if I write here say colors equal to yellow, white, blue, and then if I try to write further code for each color in colors, print colors, right? If I try to write this code and run it, you shall see that, okay, I think I have printed the whole list. Yep, now you see. Although I have written a very small lines of code, yet this is very intuitively understood that this is perhaps some memory and I'm storing three contents in it, and then I just rotated around that content and printed each individual element that was stored, right? So Python is highly readable. Whether you know Python or you do not know Python, if you look at the code, uh, it would make sense to you. Okay, interpreted like I say, uh, Python is processed at the runtime by the interpreter. So when you run your code within the Python environment, each line by line shall be interpreted by the Python environment. Okay. Uh, Python is a now let's of course the Python is the as a object oriented or the interactive. These points you shall make sense more into the further classes as I explain you the concepts individually. Well, let's look at the another major significant point that this slide is highlighting, and that is Python is a beginner's language. So whether you are from a computer science background or you are from a civil or a mechanical or any domain, healthcare, finance, any domain, even if you do not have a basic knowledge of the programming or any language, if you start learning Python, you can still get expertise in the Python and have a full gainful understanding. Python is that easy, that readable, and that easily capable to make you expert. So with that, we have understood that Python is a programming language. It is widely popular, highly in demand in this industry, and it's very easy to learn. Plus, it has a lot of applications. As it is commonly said that you must have knowledge of at least one programming language, and if that happens to be Python, it opens a lot of doors for you towards taking your career path, whether it's in any industry specific web development or an app development or automation, scripting, artificial intelligence, machine learning, or even for your personal project as well as any entrepreneurial thoughts or applications. You could utilize Python a lot. You can automate your daily jobs. You can uh, do a lot. Yeah. So with that, let's conclude for the session, and in the further classes we shall be learning with basic syntax of the Python or the basic rules and grammatical structures of the Python. Yep. Thank you, everyone.